patch has dropped. There are a lot of balance changes in here with developer comments on all of them. Some of them I like, some of them I don't like, some of them we're neutral on. Let's go ahead and run through it and give my initial thoughts on what this could mean for the Marvel Snap format. Starting here with Thanos being reduced from 11 power down to 10. I think the note here that they're happy to keep him at 9+ power for Shang-Chi's sake is actually an astute / good observation. Things getting clipped past that 8 mark is actually a detriment in a lot of meta games, and the actual power on Thanos, while it matters some of the time, it's largely not the reason that you play it. The big change to Thanos here is this next note, and I think this change is huge. Space Stone is now being changed to next turn, you can move one card to this location instead of at this location. This is actually exactly the change I really wanted to see for Space Stone. This change takes a lot of power away from Lockjaw in the Thanos deck, because previously what the Thanos deck got to do is you played Space Stone into the Lockjaw, you got something big out, and then you either moved that big thing or you moved your Lockjaw. The Space Stone always moving to its location not only removes the flexibility with Lockjaw, but it also makes your plays more predictable for the opponent, giving you less flexibility on crucial turns, meaning it's easier for the opponent to make a value judgment read as to what you're looking to do. So I think overall, these two changes from Thanos are very, very good. Now, the next change here is one that also targets the Thanos deck, but it's one that makes me a little bit sad. Quinjet now reduces cost to a minimum of 1, and while I think making Quinjet be a minimum of 1 is a reasonable thing to do to the Thanos deck specifically, it makes me incredibly sad that all of my B-tier Quinjet decks that I've really loved playing over my time in Marvel Snap are just fucking dead now and can't play Quinjet anymore. Most notably, Hood is one of my most played cards in Marvel Snap, and I frequently play Hood with Quinjet, so you could make demons for free in the Moon Girl double up decks, and it makes me sad that those decks need to be completely rethought and are probably almost assuredly less powerful in whatever they get rethought into. So I understand why this change was made, but I'm sad that my favorite decks have eaten flack because of the Thanos deck. I think rather than having this change happen, I think if they wanted the stones to not be free, they should have just changed the already vague wording on Thanos to start the stones in your deck so they're explicitly not impacted by Quinjet, rather than fucking all of the other Quinjet decks that I liked playing. The next change is an interesting one. Red Skull is going from 15 stats and your opponent's cards have 2 power at this location to 13 stats and your enemy cards have +1 power at this location. Oop. So obviously this makes Shuri worse, right? Like, she's only going to have 26 stats at her location, but in general, this is an upgrade to Red Skull in other situations, right? Like, if you just play the Red Skull out raw with no other support, it is a card that's a 5/9 now, which is not an amazing rate, but it's a reasonable rate. She-Hulk. So I don't know that She-Hulk was a card that I really heard anyone explicitly complaining about, but I think this change makes sense. Like, She-Hulk is an incredibly powerful Marvel Snap card that was pretty omnipresent in a lot of things. And as someone who's played a lot of She-Hulk, I think this change is reasonable, and She-Hulk's still good and strong even with this change. In my opinion, anytime you can take one of the best cards in the format and take 1 point of power away from it and still have it be a good playable card, I think that's a good change. Anytime you can make one of the best cards slightly worse but still playable, that's a meaningful change to make, because making really good cards slightly worse but still playable gives other things room to breathe in the format. This is a good change in my opinion. And now for a big one, Arrow. I think they massacred our girl. I'm gonna read the developer comments here word for word, because I haven't read them in full yet, and I want to see where they're coming from. Arrow's a tricky card for us. The actual game balance for Arrow has been healthy, and she fulfills a vital role in our game by providing interaction, especially against dangerously polarizing cards like Galactus. It's important for Arrow to be versatile and strong in order to be a widely playable tech card, but we don't want her pushing the majority of other 5-cost cards out of decks. Unfortunately, that's the behavior we're seeing. We've been saying for a while every deck is better with Arrow, right? So they understand that. They're seeing that. That's good. Arrow could also be frustrating, denying players the option to play their own endgames. This change seeks to keep Arrow strong where she's needed and foster more competition among 5-cost cards. So Arrow got a point of attack back and says move the last enemy card played this turn to this location. So she still works against Galactus under most conditions with this, which I think is their goal. They call out. I'm glad. I am super excited to see these two adjectives used to describe Galactus, because these are very apt adjectives to describe Galactus. Yeah, will Arrow still see play? Maybe. It depends on what the format looks like. This is a good change, I think, because it makes Arrow more of a tech. This change probably makes Arrow be more what they intended her to be, which is a tech interactive card in the right situations. So, is she going to be good generically everywhere? No. Is she going to be good against decks that are looking to play out a 6-drop or like a card in the late game? Yeah, probably. Most notably, someone commented she's good with wave, right? So if you wave into Arrow on 6, your opponent's likely only playing 1 card, and then Arrow's still very good at determining where that card goes, especially if you're playing say the wave She-Hulk deck, where you wave on 5 and then Arrow plus She-Hulk on the last turn, etc. So that seems potentially good. We have a functional change here for these 3 cards that's definitely a nerf. These cards, Mystique, Absorbing Man, and Taskmaster, now require the previously played cards to be in play in order to copy the attributes. So that's interesting. This means if you Shang-Chi a Shuri'd card with priority, the Taskmaster can't copy it. So this is a functional change that makes the Shuri deck worse, right? This is, spoilers for people at home. There's no card changes to the actual card Shuri in these patch notes, and I think that's fine. This Taskmaster change is a nerf to Shuri. This Arrow change is a nerf to Shuri. The She-Hulk change is a nerf to Shuri. The Red Skull change is a nerf to Shuri. They trimmed the edges a bunch here in order to bring the deck down in power level, hopefully. We have a couple of other small changes here to a couple ongoing cards. Morbius's power no longer updates in hand or deck, only at your location. And Null, I'm low-key super excited for this Null change. Null's power updates in hand, but no longer updates in deck. This means we can play Null with Mr. Negative. So we tried brewing around Null with Mr. Negative a few times, but it was just super awkward because if you destroyed 3 or 4 power worth of things and then played Mr. Negative, your Null would cost 4. but it doesn't work that way anymore. And I think there's some brewing to be done here, both in a dedicated negative shell and just like a destroy deck that happens to play negative. I think are two very real possibilities that seem sweet here. So that's the end of the changes. Notable here, Leech still has the same text box. Galactus remains unchanged. We did trim the edges on Thanos. I think the changes to Thanos are good. I think the changes to Shuri are good. We'll see where Leech ends up at. I think Leech, they view it as a powerful safety valve that their format needs. It's also a pretty deeply unfun card. I guess one commentary on Leech potentially still existing is that Deathwave and Galactus hopefully don't become overbearing. If that's the case. So yeah, overall there's a lot of good in here. I wish we would have seen some buffs. Like I think all of the changes make sense, even if the Quinjet change makes me sad. I would have liked to seen some of the underpowered cards get a little bit of love. I think the Red Skull change is a buff. The Red Skull change is like the quintessential definition of a side grade. It is worse under ideal circumstances and better under some bad case circumstances, and makes the card more of a, a 7 or an 8 as opposed to a 2 or a 10, which is good. I think that like that type of change is good. The Morbius change is just a display change. Its power no longer updates in your hand or deck, only at location. This basically means like you can Mr. Negative Morbius now too, because Morbius was also weird like null when it came to Mr. Negative. This is not a power level change. It's just a like a visual display change essentially. All right, that's it. If you watch this on YouTube, it got a little rambly because we recorded it live in one take here on the twitch.tvs. If you're watching this shortly after it posted, I am probably live on twitch.tv streaming. You should jump on over and have a good time. We're going to get brewing with these decks now. Thanks everybody for watching, and be sure to check back in tomorrow on the YouTube channel for our first deck highlight in our brave new Thanos and Shuri nerf format.